You're listening to a 4x4 Radio Network podcast.
This month's Centresteer podcast is sponsored by Commonwealth Classics. Commonwealth Classics is a direct importer of classic vehicles from Europe and South America and has a rotating collection of rare and unique Land Rovers. Their showroom is located in Virginia, just 45 minutes west of Washington, D.C. Visit www.cwclassics.com to view their inventory of classic vehicles and follow them on Instagram at Commonwealth_Classics. Thank you, Commonwealth Classics, for your continued support of the podcast.
The Centresteer Podcast, a Land Rover podcast by Land Rover owners.
Welcome to the Centresteer Podcast, podcast number 98 for May 2021. This is the first Land Rover podcast on the planet. Centresteer is a podcast by, for, and about Land Rover owners. I'm your host, John Costage. Joining me over Zoom is Harold and Morgan. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, thanks for having me.
As always, Dixon is AWOL. We gave him some time to join us for the podcast today, but last night was Rover night, and he's now not available. He hasn't joined us.
Yeah, we want to know what this Rover night's about. Many theories have been put forward here.
we were speculating on what Rover night was and what has happened. Is he hungover? Is he stuck at the border? Is he stuck underneath his vehicle? Is he stuck in the skyscraper? We don't know.
I think perhaps he was using the skyscraper to sneak over the border to get his truck, and it was shot down in the skies over the border.
We need answers, Dixon. We need answers. Our guests this month are Tobias and Sven. They are Rafiki on tour, two friends overlanding the world in a 110. Rafiki means friend in Swahili, and Tobias has been in an adventure at least since he was 18 when he bought his first vehicle, a Series 3 ambulance.
Good way to start.
Absolutely. And they've been traveling on and off for several years, waiting out the pandemic in Spain at the moment. And their website is rafikontour.com, R-A-F-I-K-I, ontour.com. We'll hear from them later in the show.
And yet they are neither Spanish nor Swahili in origin.
As always, thanks for your comments, likes, follows on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and email. And of course, YouTube, we're available there also under the account Centresteer Podcast. Be sure to subscribe through whatever means you listen to the podcast to have it automatically delivered when the show is posted. You can also get in touch with us by leaving a voicemail through the website. And please consider supporting the show, especially if you have been following Oxford, enjoying our interviews with figures in the Overland and Land Rover community, and liking our coverage of most things Land Rover and Rover-related things. You can be a regular podcast supporter through Patreon, be a one-time supporter through Buy Me a Tea. And we need to thank Bob again. Bob gave us another Buy Me a Brown Water this past month.
More of this mysterious brown water.
As long as it's not 90 weight.
Or other things.
You can show off your support by purchasing a t-shirt or sticker. You can visit our website for all the details. That's centresteer.com, C-E-N-T-R-E, steer.com.
No floaters in the brown water, please.
If you're a business and interested in reaching the Land Rover community through North America and the rest of the world, there are sponsorship slots available. The podcast averages over 600 downloads a month over the past year or so. And thank you to Commonwealth Classics for your ongoing sponsorship of the podcast. Now for the news. Jaguar Land Rover makes £860 million loss after strategy rethink, but it's not all what you think it is. JLR made a loss of £860 million for its full financial year after its new boss wrote off £1.5 billion in a strategy rethink, despite a recovery in sales since the slump at the start of the coronavirus pandemic. JLR would have made a $660 million profit in the year to 31 March, if not for the write-down. The car maker has the largest automotive manufacturing operation in the UK, but in 2020 lost its crown to the biggest UK car maker by volume, to Nissan. I think the British call it Nissan, don't they?
Yeah.
Yet sales for the year remained relatively robust at 440,000, a drop of only 14%. For the 3 months of 2021, sales grew by 12% year on year, led by a big jump in Chinese sales when compared with the period of tight lockdowns in early 2020. JLR also reported healthy sales for its new Defender, with 45,000 sold during the year. That's impressive, 45,000 in a pandemic year. However, in February, JLR counted the cost of previous strategic missteps, with the chief executive, Thierry Bolloré, ditching a previous decision to invest in a new electric Jaguar XJ. JLR has already revealed the U-turn would cost it £1.5 billion, including a £950 million of non-cash write-downs and £530 million in restructuring charges. It's a lot of money.
It's 1.5 billion with a B. That's, a lot of money. Let's hope they don't make decisions like that very often.
And related to that story is and the title of this one is Jaguar's BMW-Rivaling dreams are officially over. And Bolloré has initiated a series of cost-cutting measures to restore profitability by 2024, but it'll come at a price. The so-called British BMW dream is over. Automotive News spoke to former JLR employee who, under anonymity, said that the company's previous approach was a huge mistake. I added the emphasis there. This quote from this anonymous source: if you think you can compete with a BMW 3 Series, Mercedes C-Class, and Audi A4 with sales of 700,000 a year, you can't. You're chasing a runaway train, unquote. By attempting to chase the Germans, this individual said JLR overcomplicated the palette because it launched Jaguars that were internally competed against Land Rovers.
I think you need to aim higher anyway. I mean, if you're trying to be as good as the Germans, that's as good as you're ever going to be.
Jaguar will instead become more exclusive, whereas Land Rover will be the volume brand. Part of the strategy involves Jaguar having its own bespoke platform with new EVs that'll compete directly against Bentley and Rolls-Royce. Some industry analysts are not convinced Jaguar requires its own unique EV architecture, which Bolloré claims will help give Jaguar the exclusivity factor.
Well, and perhaps even do it better.
I kind of like the idea of having their own architecture, and then gives them their own unique identity.
I think that it's important, if you really want to go after luxury and performance, you need a platform that's tailored to that and not something that's also used as an off-roading platform. They're just different needs.
Yeah, and also with the previous discussions of their partnerships with BMW for EV platforms and batteries and stuff like that, you can't beat BMW if you're basically producing the same vehicles.
Well, I mean, it's nice to think that you could beat BMW using their own parts, but I just don't think it makes any sense.
Yeah.
Interesting that they mention Bentley and Rolls-Royce, going up further upscale into that super luxury market.
Well, I think they need to throw Tesla into that mix as well. I think they need to go after Tesla as well in terms of if they're going to be an all electric platform. I mean, you really have to throw them in there as a benchmark as well.
I think only for the technology. They are not well-built cars, as far as from what I can tell. They have a lot of issues in the reliability and fit and finish.
They do, but in terms of performance out of an electric vehicle, they're near the top of the list, and that's why I'm saying if they're going to be they need to stay with that pace part of the equation, grace, space, and pace. And I think to do that, you've got to kind of go after that segment of the market. People buy Teslas because they're fast. Is the thinking. Because if they don't want a fast electric car, they're just going to buy a Nissan Leaf or something like that.
Right. Chevy Bolt.
And Tesla also has the infrastructure, so that's another reason to have to compete with them.
Right, and something else to emulate as well. I think when you're talking electric, you need to be thinking about how people are going to use it and how they're going to be able to fuel it, so to speak.
Yeah.
The thing about Tesla, just as I kind of alluded to it, that I've noticed is they're not as luxurious. It's all about the technology. It's all about the capability in the technology. And I've been in them. They're nice. I've ridden in them a couple times. They're nice and they do the job. But as you see Jaguar trying to become a super luxury brand, I guess, and then we mentioned Tesla. It's like, well, Tesla's not in that area. It's only in that strata to talk about as a benchmark because of the technology, not because of the luxury or the features.
It's more than that. It's also public perception, though. They're perceived as a high-end electric vehicle. And so if you come along with a high-end brand that's able to do that better, then that's an opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do agree with that, Harold. In many ways, they were the only, I think still the only all-electric brand, right? That's large producer of all-electric cars. I don't think there's any other one out there at the moment.
And well, they're kind of out on their own in terms of being high-end electric as well. And so that's why I say that they need to be sort of one of the benchmarks that Jaguar is shooting for. Maybe emulate the ultra luxury of Bentley and Rolls and the high-end performance of Tesla and do it right, and they have an opportunity there.
All right, we'll move on in the news. JLR has an order backlog of 100,000, 12 months wait on models. So some details here. About 60% of the backlog originated from the UK and Europe, followed by China and the US. A senior JLR official informed. Shortage of semiconductors is one of the primary reasons behind the crunch in vehicle supplies. It has started hitting the production of JLR's plug-in hybrid electric vehicles too. And this is Adrian Mardell, Chief Financial Officer, JLR, told analysts after the quarterly results. He said, quote, "We have a huge order demand at this point in time. We have almost 100,000 customers waiting to drive our vehicles. More than 22,000 orders now are for the Defender family. We would expect those order books to normalize in 6, 9, or 12 months." Very specific.
One of those, yeah, sure.
Yeah. It'll normalize eventually.
Someday.
Sounds like Comcast service scheduling.
Tata Motors claimed that proactive management with suppliers and chip brokers has limited the impact of semiconductor shortage through the March quarter. However, such shortages are expected to continue through the first half of the year before improving in the second half. Chip shortage will eventually normalize, yeah. But I think the headline here is the fact that there's 22,000 orders waiting for the new Defender, which they sold 45,000 last year. They're probably on pace to sell even more this year, assuming that they can get these supply issues worked out.
So what you're saying is they have more on back order than were ever sold as legacy Defenders over the entire lifespan.
Yes. Suspect, and I've not seen this mentioned anywhere, but my impression, I suspect that they will cannibalize other sales of other models to keep the Defender going out the door if they can. I don't know how those chips are.
There's tradition because I buy cheap discos to cannibalize for parts to keep Defenders going.
There you go. See,
so
it's all connected.
Why shouldn't the factory do it too?
Unless those chips are specific to models, which I suspect I don't know. They may. I guess they could be. I don't know.
Well, the chips might not, but the firmware upon them, of course, might be.
Right.
Assuming JLR probably handles that, they put their own code on there, but yeah, it depends on how the chips arrive from the factory.
Right, but and some of the components would be this. I mean, I would think that a lot of the computers might be the same, but certain ones might be different. I mean, certainly in terms of the Defender, which is more computerized than any of the other models, there's going to be some unique stuff there.
Yeah, and as more of the models start to get the, what is it, the Plivio system, Plivo?
Pivi Pro.
Pivi, that's right, Pivi Pro.
Can I change that name?
I know, right?
I need a better, like all-terrain response. I like that. It's clear, it's simple, to the point. Their entertainment, inner system, Pivi Pro. What was the one before? I don't even remember it. It was also a terrible name, but I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Lucky Pro.
Lucky Pro.
Yeah, I mean, as more of the systems are switching, or more of the vehicles are switching over to the Pivi Pro system, that implies that more of the underlying systems are tied together too. Obviously, a lot of it is probably software, but
well, it would behoove them to make more commonality and just change out the programming to tailor them.
Yep.
Moving on, JLR dealers are earning bags of cash.
Does the cash actually come in bags?
Apparently it does when it comes to JLR.
I wonder if maybe I could get some of those for swag purposes. And they can be empty. I'm fine with that. But I mean, well, obviously if they want to leave a bill or two, that wouldn't hurt me. But
oh, that sounded good. I may see if I can leave that in. I heard a vehicle powering up.
Yep, some motorcycle down the street.
That's at your place, Morgan?
Yep.
That's a Vermont cycle.
Yes.
And Harold, will we hear any Blue Angels?
Perhaps.
Because it is air show weekend.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 1:00 this afternoon. There might be another flyover, but I'm down in the basement, which will help to keep it manageable. If I'm at the shop, I mean, forget it. Everything has to stop. Because get the door open and they're making that tight turn right over the shop, and the wind is screaming off the end of the wings. They're leaving those contrails, and So, the first time it happens, I have to think, okay, wait a minute, end of May. So either the air shows in town or downtown Latrobe is under attack. One of those things.
Well, I live right under the flight path of the airport, and we have F-35 basing here. So It gets real interesting.
Well, when I was in college, I lived about a mile off the end of the runway where a squadron of F-4s took off every afternoon. The loudest plane in the Air Force. And they'd take off at full after going for the Pacific.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool, but for like 5 minutes, absolutely nothing was happening.
Yep. That's the way it is here.
Anyway.
Back to the news.
I'll read the full article because I think there's some interesting information here. JLR hasn't had it easy over the past few years. It never became the BMW and Audi rival now former CEO Ralph Spaeth envisioned, despite investing billions in new models and global facilities. His successor recently announced a plan that will see a dramatically scaled back an EV-only Jaguar alongside a more well-funded Land Rover. Jaguar's inability to compete with the Germans forced Bolloré to either kill or turn it into an ultra-luxury brand with fewer models and higher profit margins. He chose the latter. Land Rover will make up the bulk of the company's future sales because that's where greater demand lies. Land Rover demand and profits have never been higher, though this is the result of the semiconductor chip shortage crisis. The Defender, for example, has up to a 12-month wait list. JLR's North American CEO is not worried. In fact, he's thrilled. Speaking to Automotive News, Joe Eberhardt revealed dealerships are recording some of their highest profits per vehicle in years, along with plenty of custom orders for already high-priced Range Rovers. It's a situation where there's a lesson to be learned. He doesn't want to go back to the days when dealers had a 90-day supply. And Eberhardt said, quote, "The challenge for us will be to accurately forecast what the real demand is, then have the discipline to actually flex the production once we have availability to be aligned. We don't want to push cars in the market," unquote. The fact that JLR's U.S. dealers are extremely understocked at the moment is a good problem to have because it forces buyers to accept what's available. There's not much room for negotiating. The alternative is custom orders, and that typically means buyers are loading up on the options. The downside is that buyers will have to wait several months. However, Eberhardt is concerned once the chip shortage ends, inventories will increase back to pre-pandemic and pre-shortage levels. It's a balancing act that's hard to juggle. Inventory that's too low directly contradicts Americans' "I want it now" mentality. And if they can't have that high-priced Range Rover or Defender fast enough, they could drift away to the competition. Dealers continue to beg for inventory that just doesn't exist right now, but they're also raking in the cash. Eberhardt's new task is to find the ideal inventory figure that generates both demand and profit. So I thought that was interesting, especially about the American car market, where it is very much like a store. You go in and you buy what they have, whereas I think the rest of the world is more of a order what you want, and then it will.
The interesting thing is it didn't used to be that way. I mean, it used back in the 60s and 70s, people used to order stuff, and of course, I mean, the fulfillment was relatively quick because usually there was something like that on the lot at the factory. They just pulled from inventory, but yeah, we're very much into the instant gratification here, and not known for our patience.
Yeah, I wonder how much the pandemic will have changed that, because I know, I mean, it's just sort of circumstantial evidence, but I have a number of friends who have switched to buying new cars just by ordering them because of the pandemic. And they're like, oh, well, that was so much easier. Next time I'm just going to do that.
So, but it depends on how long they want to wait.
That's true.
You can order online from existing inventory and get it relatively quick, and that would be an easy transaction for your friends to get used to. But if they plunk down that order, okay, it'll be 6 months.
Right.
Go for that.
That's true.
Especially because you're at home all the time now, and you kind of want some sort of gratification for your spend, and to be pent up at home waiting for something that's never coming is
right.
Of course, if you're at home all the time now, you don't really need a vehicle. So I don't know. It could go both ways.
And you need to factor in the fact that there is a general shortage of vehicles, not only new, but also used cars also. And so that
there seems
you might
to be
have
a
to
general
wait.
Shortage of everything these days.
Yeah. So you just might have to wait, even if you wanted it now. You still, whether you are buying it right off the showroom floor or you order something. So if you have to wait, why not order what you want?
Well, if you have to wait, you may as well get it the way you want it. But on the other hand, if you're able to lower your standards and take what you can get close and then build what you want, that's my philosophy.
True. Although I would say that Land Rover's customers are probably less likely to be the ones who are going to compromise for something lesser.
One would hope that.
Well, but I think the other problem they have, especially here in America, is they're getting a lot of new customers that typically didn't look at Land Rover before because of the new Defender, and it's bringing people into the brand that are brand new people. They've heard about the Defender, they heard about Land Rover, and they like that model, and so they want it. And if it's not available, you now also have additional competition coming. Admittedly, it's not immediate, but you have the Bronco coming. You have updated Jeeps.
Bronco's out. Yeah. Jeeps are out.
I thought the one Bronco that mainly competed was not till next year.
Out, but not the full Bronco.
Right. Yeah.
There's definitely increased competition, especially in the past year or so.
They're advertising the hell out of the Bronco Sport, and they're great ads.
They are actually. I've seen a couple of those. They really are good ads. Yes.
That goat mode thing, that was genius.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Absolute genius.
I'm kind of curious to see if Toyota doesn't get a sense of things and you know what, we've got that FJ40. We could bring that back and maybe do a better job than we did the last time.
Right, but I wonder what they'd call their terrain response. Toad?
I mean, they've got crawl mode, but it's not as sexy as goat mode.
Well, they're already putting big stickers on the back of their pickup trucks that say turd. So,
Well, it's that's slightly better than Pivi Pro, I suppose.
Maybe.
I don't know. All right. The 2019-2021 Discovery recalled due to global fault. JLR has announced a recall. The Discovery, that's the full-size D5, built between 2019 and 2021 due to a fault with the startup battery ground stud. The issue will affect 1,500 vehicles in Australia. In North America, the same issue had a recall late last year, and that affected 11,000 vehicles in the U.S. According to the automaker, vehicles with a fault may exhibit a range of electrical faults, including complete loss of power while being driven and losing all electrics. Well, see, it is a Land Rover.
Primary ground path issue, but on the other hand, it doesn't sound like it'd be that expensive to fix.
Right.
JLR design director resigns. Jaguar design director Julian Thompson is to leave the car maker this month after less than 2 years in the role, and that would be May of 2021. A Jaguar statement said he will explore other exciting opportunities outside of Jaguar Land Rover. British publication Autocar said reports online hinted that he could go to India to work for new EV company Ola Electric. Mr. Thompson has been at Jaguar for more than 21 years, following 12 years at Lotus, where he designed the original Elise, and with Volkswagen working on production and concept vehicles. At Land Rover, he was involved in the design of the radical LRX concept, which became one of the company's most important models, the Evoque. He was also on the team that created the final designs for Jaguar models, including the XE, XF, XJ, F-Type, F-Pace, E-Pace, and I-Pace. He was appointed Jaguar's advanced design director in 2019 when predecessor Ian Callum departed to start his own consultancy. He's on his way out after 2 years.
I wonder who they'll get to replace him.
Yes, that's an excellent question. It certainly doesn't seem planned, does it?
Well, no, because normally when there's a move like that, they announce the replacement at the same time. And this one kind of seems like it hit them by surprise, and they have no ready successor.
And it certainly sounds like he was doing a lot of the Jaguar stuff of late, which has obviously all been thrown in the bin.
Kind of sounds like he's doing all the Jag stuff.
Well, maybe that was it. Maybe he didn't like the change in direction and maybe wanted a new opportunity to do something different.
And yet it sounds like he's going to move to another all-electric company. So,
That's a good point. JLR reveals new sporty version of Range Rover Evoque. JLR has unveiled a new sporty version of the Evoque. The new P300 HST edition model will sit at the top of the range and cost from £50,000. It features what JLR describes as a stealthy, high-performance look inspired by the Range Rover Sport HST. It builds on the previous £47,980 most expensive Evoque with a sporty look enhanced with the black pack comprising gloss black Range Rover bonnet script, side vents, bonnet louvers, door mirror caps, and exterior accents. The P300 HST accelerates from 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds thanks to 300 horsepower from its 2-liter petrol engine. The power is put through a 9-speed automatic gearbox, and the car features Land Rover's Terrain Response 2 system, giving the all-wheel drive model trademark Range Rover all-terrain capability. The Evoque prices start from £32,000. So there's a new Evoque, the 300, which I don't think we get here in the U.S. Speaking of which, Europe gets a better Range Rover Evoque than we do. Automakers will often sell the same vehicle with different engine options depending on the market, and the 2021 Evoque is a great example. Available with an array of different power plants outside the country, U.S. shoppers can only order one powertrain, a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder called the P250. This unit produces 246 horsepower, 269 pound-feet of torque, yielding a 7-second 0 to 60 mile per hour time. While U.S. buyers won't complain of a lack of power, the difference comes jarring when compared to what Europe's available in Europe. Along with the updates of the 2021 model, the Evoque adds the P300 HST trim level, which we just discussed. This version still uses the same 2-liter engine found in the P250, but is now producing almost 300 horsepower. The 50 horsepower and half-second 0 to 60 advantage are pretty significant, and it makes us wonder why the P300 drivetrain is not offered in a U.S. spec Evoque. Land Rover doesn't offer the Bronze Collection Special Edition with the potent P300 drivetrain, but it does offer a range of mild hybrid and plug-in hybrid options that are not available in the U.S. The P300e PHEV is the most intriguing, pairing a 1.5-liter 3-cylinder engine with an electric motor, yielding outstanding fuel economy and up to 34 miles of electric driving range. An 80% charge takes around 90 minutes driving at 70 miles per hour. Land Rover has no plans to make the P300 or P300e drivetrains available in U.S. spec versions, but we would think it would make a more compelling luxury option.
So the article says that Americans wouldn't complain about the power in the P250. That's perhaps only because they don't know what they're missing.
Precisely.
Give them a whiff of something more and they're going to want it.
Next up this is everything we know about the 2022 Land Rover Discovery. So this is the new full-size Disco. I'm not going to read it all, just a couple of them that I thought were interesting. Land Rover has given the 2022 Discovery a notable bunch of updates. Mechanically, it gets 2 new engines, a 296 horsepower inline 4 and a 355 horsepower inline 6. Both the engines are turbocharged, and the 6-cylinder gets mild hybrid tech. In terms of the exterior design, the front fascia gets a chin-up job with tweaked lighting and new grille design. The design cues vary according to trim level, with a new R-Dynamic trim joining in that it gets a sinister makeover with blacked-out exterior accents, including the headlamps. For the interior, Land Rover has introduced the new Pivi Pro infotainment system that is very much intuitive and is a crisp 11.4-inch display at the interface. The only thing crisp, from what I understand about the Pivi Pro, is the fact that the display looks crisp. Anyway, the response is not supposed to be that good.
Or the freshness of the bills required to pay for it.
A new 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster also joins in that it adds to its intuitive appeal. All 2022 Discovery models also come standard with adjustable air suspension. The base 2-liter turbocharged inline 4 motor pumps out 296 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. The bigger, more powerful unit is 355 horsepower, 3-liter turbocharged inline 6 with hybrid tech. The 48-volt mild hybrid tech helps in improving efficiency and reducing emissions by assisting in its start-stop feature. Oh, yay. I'm not a big fan of the start-stop.
No, it's very disturbing.
Yes.
Yeah.
For somebody who spends his days diagnosing weird issues with engines stopping mysteriously and not restarting, that whole stop-start bugs me. When I am in a rental or something that has that, that's the first thing I turn off. I can't deal.
An 8-speed automatic transmission is standard for both the engines and standard all-wheel drive. Standard all-wheel drive. I thought it was a 4-wheel drive. Okay. And standard all-wheel drive make it fun to drive on and off the tarmac, adding to its versatility. And against the plush looks, the 2022 Discovery is pretty competent. And and when it comes to towing, it has a maximum capability of 8,200 pounds, which I believe is more than the Defender. Defender's 8,002 pounds.
By the way, the Discovery has always been all-wheel drive, but it's never been anything but.
Right.
The 2024 Evoque Discovery Sport to lead new era Land Rover EV lineup. Land Rover has drawn up plans to revolutionize the next generation Evoque and Discovery Sport by building them on the all-new EV-focused platform with a petrol-fueled range extender unit. Called the Electrified Modular Architecture, EMA, the new platform will be designed from the outset to accommodate advanced driver assistance systems and extensive cloud connectivity. The EMA's inherent simplicity should also address JLR's problem with quality. The huge EMA project will be part of a £10 billion investment program running until 2026. JLR's wider plans include the launches of the all-new Range Rover Sport 3, Velar 2, and Discovery 6 models, all based on the upcoming MLA platform. The Disco 6 is now expected to be built at Solihull rather than at Slovakia after the Jaguar F-Pace is phased out completely to make way for that brand's all-electric next-generation lineup. Autocar understands that the first EMA-based new car will be the next Evoque, launched in 2024 and followed quickly by the third-generation Disco Sport. It's expected that the EMA production line will be installed at the company's Howell plant. By 2030, JLR says it expects EMA-based vehicles to account for nearly 50% of its sales, equivalent to 340,000 cars, and the MLA-based vehicles around 40%. Jaguar EVs are penciled in at a modest 12%. In effect, EMA is a native EV platform that can house either a large floor-mounted battery pack or a smaller hybrid-sized battery, but the addition of a small range-extending internal combustion engine engineered with lean-burning technology. The use of electric motors to power each axle allows the elimination of conventional mechanical transmissions, differentials, drive shafts, and prop shafts. Aside from the simplicity of the layout and reduction in potential drivetrain problems, the use of electric motors will be a boon for off-road performance. This is because torque and power can be finely metered to each wheel individually, reducing slip and allowing drive to be directed to the wheels with the most grip in a much quicker and controllable way than an electromechanical systems can achieve. Similar improvements in on-road handling and ride, such as eliminating understeer, are possible for the same reasons. All-wheel drive will be delivered by new JLR-designed 800-volt capable electric drive units that the company says will be the most torque-dense in class. JLR's engineers also say the new motors are 92% efficient, offering as much as 4 to 4.5 miles of travel per kilowatt of electricity consumed. In terms of the manufacturer's powertrain strategy, hydrogen propulsion remains on the future technology map. Officially, JLR says it's too early to say what will happen with the existing fuel cell research program known as Project Zeus. However, JLR's internal briefing suggests that fuel cells could be leveraged in the future as range-extending hardware for an advanced electric propulsion powertrain. It's a statement that suggests Land Rover is adopting range-extending EV technology as a long-term bet. There's a lot more to read there if you want to know more detail about the EV architecture, but those are the bits I pulled out I thought were really interesting to read and hear about.
Well, the part that caught my attention was the fact that they think a dedicated platform for electricity and computerizing is going to somehow improve their quality of a British vehicle.
More smoke to let out.
Yeah. More potential leak points.
And next, a Range Rover Evoque D200 review. Hybrid diesel mini-Rangie tested. This is from Top Gear out of the UK. I'm not going to read the whole thing, give you just a couple points here. It doesn't look any different. The styling hasn't changed at all. What has is the engines. They're now all hybrids as long as you spec the automatic gearbox, which everyone does. Electric boost comes as standard on everything except the ultra basic 163 horsepower D165 diesel. In short, all the engines that matter in the Evoque are now hybridish in a variant effort to lower Land Rover CO2 average and save a few quid on fuel. Downsides. As per every Evoque so far, the visibility is tight and there's not a lot of space in the cabin, front or rear, for what's fairly chunky car, but it's hardly put anyone off of it, hasn't it? Besides, it's easier to put passengers in the back of an Evoque than it is in a Defender 90.
Well, just because it has back seats. I mean, you know.
So that's the Evoque D200, which I don't think we get in the US either.
Right. If it's diesel, then no.
No, or if it's cool, then no.
Right.
And speaking of the Defender 90, this is a 2021 Land Rover Defender 90 P400X Dynamic. And this is out of Canada. We also have article after this from the US from Autoblog, so I'll read just a couple points here. The reason for this trip down memory lane is that the new 2021 Land Rover Defender 90 reminds me so much of my 2A while sharing literally nothing of its ancestors' crudeness. As such, I can't see it ever ending up as a lowly farm vehicle. Yes, it has the bones, the same short wheelbase, the boxy upright aluminum body, the extreme off-road capability, the robust construction of its predecessor. It has a 395 horsepower turbocharged inline 6-cylinder bolted to an 8-speed automatic. There's also a turbo 2-liter 4-cylinder P300. And for 2022, a really big bucks V8 model. Throw in all the amenities befitting a premium brand SUV and you get an as-tested price that tops $86,000 Canadian. Not exactly chump change for a 2-door compact size rig. Of course, I think this is the X Dynamic, so that's the top of the line.
Do we even get that one in our country?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the 90, but we did in the 110. Continue on with the Canadian review here. Indeed, the 3-liter inline 6 is inherently smooth and handles the 90's heftiness with minimal effort, taking about 6 seconds to hit 100 kilometers per hour. Aiding the engine is Land Rover's mini-Rangie technology, which features both a conventional twin-scroll turbocharger and a 48-volt electric supercharger, with a belt-integrated starter motor in place of the alternator to assist the engine, and a 48-volt lithium-ion battery to store energy captured as the Defender slows down. The engine drives through an 8-speed ZF automatic and 2-speed transfer case that provides a set of low-range ratios necessary for towing. The 90 can haul 3,270 kilograms, or off-roading when more control is required. The center stack touchscreen display is a comprehensive list of icons that cover functions ranging from climate control to the Defender's Terrain Response 2, which now include a Wade setting that automatically softens the throttle response, sets the HVAC to recirculate cabin air, locks the drive line, and adjusts the ride height to its off-road setting while activating the Wade sensing screen on the infotainment system. On the downside, the touchscreen does not always respond to a light touch, oftentimes requiring a firm jab to engage the desired function. Being a 2-door, access to the rear seats can be a painful experience for all but the most short and flexible, even with the front seats in the most forward position. Once back there, though, there is a reasonable headroom and legroom, at least for those of average dimensions. Actual footroom, however, is at a premium. As for the rear seats themselves, they do not fold completely flat when maximum cargo room is needed, limiting functionality. The Defender 90 is a fun, sporty rig with a surprising amount of agility and response, good visibility all around, and an adventuresome spirit. Is it as useful as the larger 110 sibling? No, it's like comparing a sport coupe with a family sedan. So that was a shortened version of the Canadian review, which I thought the folding flat seats was not folding rear seats, something that I don't think people realized.
So it sounds a lot like the original 90 in terms of back seat.
If only they had jump seats.
And this is the American Autoblog. Our tester was a first edition model with a $66,475 American sticker price and only 2 included options, a tow hitch receiver and a set of off-road tires. The first edition is based on the P400 X Dynamic. So yes, we do get the X Dynamic, Harold, with a 394 horsepower inline 6. 4 and 8-cylinder models are also available. Apart from the unique aesthetic elements, the first edition also adds electric air suspension, adaptive dampers, and configurable train response. The last feature is pretty cool. We spent most of our time cruising around northern Detroit suburbs, where the 90 was most adept at turning heads. Even here in the land of the jaded automobile enthusiast, the D90 still has the smell of forbidden fruit. Cruising around with a fabric top insert rolled back to do a sardine can-like impression of a soft top Wrangler, the 2-door actually looks a bit ungainly to this author's eyes. By and large, the new Land Rover Defender lives up to its legacy. It's decidedly more expensive than the Ford Bronco or Jeep Wrangler, but not so prohibitively costly that you'd hate to take one near a trail for fear of scratching it. Looking at you, Mercedes-Benz G-Class. The 90 is the clear choice for the enthusiast who intends to hit the trails, and drawbacks are no more consequential than any other short wheelbase off-roaders, provided you're comfortable getting it dirty in a $65,000 British SUV. Hey, it's still cheaper than a Wrangler 392, right? And that's your Autoblog review of things you hadn't heard about the D90. So this, I don't know, soft top? I'm not sure I'm too excited by the soft top version of that.
Well, there are those who like that sort of thing.
I think it positions it as definitely a second car or third car.
Depends on where you live.
Yeah.
And then Top Gear, Land Rover Defender Hardtop review commercial spec tested. What's a Defender Hardtop? It's a Land Rover speak for a Defender, Top Gear's reigning car of the year, with a load of nothingness where the rear seats ought to be. Available in both short wheelbase 90 and long wheelbase 110 body styles, the Hardtop is the new Defender at its most utilitarian. Engineered to safely transport hefty, bulky, important cargo over terrain likely to flummox even the hardiest all-wheel drive Mercedes Sprinter or Ford Transit, and maybe even tough pickups like the Toyota Hilux and Isuzu D-Max. Why Hardtop? It's a nod to the load-bearing Land Rovers of yore. Dates back to the 1950s when the company began offering a removable hardtop to the erstwhile Softtop Series 1. So effectively, it's a Defender van. Correct. The 90 has 1,355 liters of space and can haul up to 670 kilograms, while the 110 has over 2,000 liters of space in its much more longer, slightly wider cargo bay, in which will fit a standard size Euro pallet and can carry up to 800 kilograms. Both get a totally flat floor with plenty of space underneath for the assortment of clever lockable storage bins, up to 6 integrated lashing points for tying your precious cargo down, heavy-duty hose-down rubber mats, and uber-bright interior lights. The 110 keeps its rear doors complete with blackout windows for side access. A sturdy full-height partition with a little grate so you can still see out the rear window separates the driver and his or her passengers from their payload. Has it worked? The Defender Hardtop is mechanically identical to the normal D90 and 110 on which it is based. And then they say, tell me about the cabin. Sat in the driver's seat, there's no way of knowing you're driving a Defender Hardtop versus a normal Defender, at least until you turn your head to look out the non-existent left rear window at an oblique junction, or try and check your blind spots before changing lanes on the motorway. Your eye level with van drivers and the massive mirrors mean you get a good view of what's going on behind you. The optional camera-based rear view mirror is handy if you've got a full load or there's someone sat in the middle jump seat. How much does it cost? The 90 starts from 36,896 pounds and the 110 from 43,771 pounds before VAT. Add the VAT back in and they cost roughly the same as a normal Defender. Verdict? It's a Defender that carries stuff instead of people. Little more to it than that. Yes, there are cheaper options if you want to carry stuff, even carry stuff off-road, but not all business works solely on spreadsheets. A quarter of Discoveries sold in the UK are the commercial version, which follows much the same formula as a Defender Hardtop. Remove rear seats, add divider. You never know because they look just like regular Discos. Land Rover is already seeing a similar pattern with a hardtop. It could account for 1 in 4 Defender sales in the UK. I don't think we're supposed to get the commercial version, are we?
Well, but on the other hand, if all they're doing is removing the seats and charging you the same price, you could just buy a regular Defender and do that yourself.
Sounds like they've got a little more in terms of like cubby space and flattening out the cargo area and stuff like that. But
it wouldn't be that hard to do.
No, hopefully it's actually similar enough that you could just order those parts.
Well, I mean,
if you really wanted to.
Parts is parts, right?
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool if they decided to do a delete option on the second row doors.
Agreed. That would be really cool.
Go back to the days of the old regular hardtops.
Yep.
That'd be cool.
As long as it's not a pickup.
Well, as long as it has a roof on it, then well, but, I mean, and that may be why we don't get them here, because it may end up getting classified as a commercial vehicle if it doesn't have back seats.
Right. Yeah, it does.
They might have to put some throwaway seats in that second row and leave the doors on it.
As far as I understand, that's what they do with like the Ford Connect, or did for a while there. They shipped them to the US, or shipped them to the US with seats installed and then shipped the seats back.
Ooh, a core charge program. There you go.
And next, there's a video that I found out of, I think, Russia, where some locals, it appears, took a Defender 110, new one, out in a mud hole. See, it's 15 minutes. You can go check that out. It's a Defender 110 off-road in Russia. Did
it have any weird, crazy traffic accident in the middle of it?
No, this is a giant mud holes. There's no paved road to be seen.
But it's Russia. There's always weird accidents happening in Russia. You watch those TV shows with the dash cams. It's like it always happens in Russia.
Exactly.
And the moral of the story is don't dare drive in Russia without a dash cam or 3.
No, you either will protect yourself or you'll make some money with dash cam videos.
Or both.
Yeah.
In the final Defender bit of news, Land Rover's spiritual leader makes no apologies for the design of the new Defender.
Of course not.
This is from Gear Patrol. You can read the longer article. I pulled out a couple things that may be, I think, somewhat new or relevant to conversation we've been having about the new Defender. If you have any complaints about the exterior of the new Land Rover Defender, Jerry McGovern probably doesn't want to hear them all that much. You'd be in the minority, he says, as the feedback to the new vehicle revealed in September 2019 has been overwhelmingly positive. And they did a question and answer session with him. So I'll read you the question and then some of the answer. What is it about the DC100 that you felt shouldn't have been done the way that it was? Answer. It was just too much. I think we were trying a bit too hard. There wasn't a purity of thought to it. Proportionally, it was okay, but the cumulative thing, it just wasn't right. Which I think I would agree with that. Do you guys feel a lot of pressure to make it more retro? This is referring to the new Defender. Skipping ahead after or further down in the article, get to what I thought was interesting. So I don't get people coming up to me saying, oh, could you make it more retrospective? I don't get marketing coming up to me and saying, could you do this? Could you do that? Because quite frankly, I don't take any notice of them. I'm employed as a professional. Design is a separate issue for the brand. I'm the spiritual leader of the brand. I defined what that vision is and my team executes it. It might sound very arrogant, which it is.
Yeah, so he's arrogant about being arrogant.
Yep.
Continuing on, that's not to say I'm not listening to other people, hearing their views and talking about how we get the right balance from the manufacturing perspective, the engineering perspective, and the marketing perspective. But when it comes to the design, when it comes to any of the disciplines where I'm an advocate, you have to respect each other's disciplines. Don't tell the designers how to design cars. I won't tell the finance man how to do all the numbers, etc. I think retrospectivism is the kiss of death. Retrospectivism, I think I said that right. It's a kiss of death. Quite frankly, it's a slippery slope. It actually conveys that you haven't got any new ideas of the future because you're looking back too much. Now, that's not to say that you don't recognize your roots, because I think authenticity, particularly in a premium brand, is important. But you don't let them manifest itself in a product to the point that the product looks like a facsimile of something that we've created 60 odd years ago. For me, that's not honest design. That car created 60, 70 years ago was right for its time, but things have moved on. It's the end of that question. I would agree with that. I do. It kind of supports the thought that time moved on. Defender didn't as much. It was slower behind in its design and build.
But on the other hand, Jeep.
Right.
Yeah, that's a valid point. It's a valid point. Question, how did you or would you react to people who come up to you and say, I don't like this car? Answer, everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's fine. What I would say is when they start talking about the design is a discipline. And somebody who just criticizes design and looks at the design has a view on it, they're not experts. I've spent my whole life designing stuff, but I respect customers' views. If they don't like it, that's for them. People think I get sensitive. I don't actually. If people don't like it, that's fine. That's up to them. But I've met more people who do like it. I've been very encouraged over here, particularly. They know what they're looking at.
Well, that's the thing. Whether you like his design vision or not, you can't argue with the sales numbers.
True.
Question, was there any element of the design you felt really proud of when you were done? Answer, for me, it's got to be the total design. You have an overall feel of something that's right. That's always starts with the volume and proportions. It's got to work as a total. I'm very proud of that design, and it's not just me. That's the work of many talented designers and engineers. It's a team effort when it comes to car design, and you can't do it on your own. Although, if it goes wrong, I'm the one that gets a bullet in the head. Now, I completely agree with him on that.
Oh, yeah. Buck stops at the top. Yep.
Exactly. Supports the whole point about he sets the tone, sets the standard, sets the direction, and his team is helping out with executing.
To his credit, he does a good job of acknowledging that there are a lot of people involved in making this stuff happen.
If you want to read the full discussion, we'll have a link, of course, in the show notes to it. That's Gear Patrol, and that's Jerry McGovern. Next, Carpenter crafts a beautiful 2021 Land Rover Defender 110X replica. This is in wood. A woodworking art channel on YouTube belongs to an insanely talented Vietnamese carpenter, and among others, showcases some of the most legendary car models ever made, but portrayed as a wooden replica. The wooden vehicles are crafted with rare attention to detail using the finest, most precious wood. As its creator explains on his Etsy seller account, the Land Rover took him about 32 days to complete, which is not even that long given the incredible attention to detail. The Rover was carved piece by piece, including the chassis, doors, windshield, mirrors, wheels, including the spare one, and so on, and then carefully put together in a perfect assembly. So there's a good video and a bunch of pictures. I encourage you to go out and check the link in the show notes.
Is it full scale?
It does not appear to be full scale.
Oh, I wanted to know if it was drivable. So I wonder if the wood Defender, the biggest problem isn't rust, but termites.
No. They actually address that, Harold. I didn't read that part, but they talk about the wood is a termite resistant. This is the wooden cars made of Fujian cypress wood, a highly valued timber in Vietnam. This type of wood has high density, a characteristic aroma, and is very resistant against termites.
So that would be the equivalent of a galvanized chassis then, huh?
Sounds like it.
It weighs 6.6 pounds, 3 kilograms, and it is 13.8 inches by 5.6 inches by 5.07 inches. And the wooden car is priced at €963, about $1,200 American. And Kate Middleton and Prince William roll up to drive-in movie in Prince Philip's vintage Land Rover. You probably saw some pictures about this. This was at the end of April. The royal couple arrived at an outdoor screening of the new Disney movie Cruella on Wednesday in a 2A Land Rover from 1966 that once belonged to Prince Philip.
So it wasn't the hearse then?
It was not. Yes. It was not.
That would have provided a lot of nice bed space for watching a movie.
Oh yeah, park it backwards in the spot and lay out the picnic blanket over the bed and kick back and watch the movie. That'd be awesome.
The only thing is they didn't show any pictures of the couple in the Land Rover watching the movie. I got the impression they were maybe on a lawn or something because they called it a drive-in movie, but they seemed to just drive to the movie and didn't use the vehicle to watch the movie.
Well, I mean, you've sat in a vintage Land Rover before. It's not maybe the most comfortable way to be stuck for 2.5 hours.
And not the best stereo system.
And finally, Enos Grenadier production delay for the best reason. Last July, the UK-based company revealed the Grenadier, a rugged off-road SUV that rides on its own unique platform but retains the look and feel of the old-school Defender. Unfortunately, production has been delayed, according to Reuters. Instead of sales beginning in early 2022, that's now been pushed back to July of 2022 for an excellent reason. Enos CEO Dirk Heilman said that there's, quote, only one opportunity to get this right, and our quality and performance targets for the Grenadier remain paramount. We won't cut corners, unquote. Extreme testing is now about to begin over 130 second phase prototypes. They're being sent to some of the world's harshest terrains and climates. Production will take place at the recently purchased Mercedes factory in Hambach, France, home of the Smart 42 since 1998. Under the Enos hood lies a BMW 3-liter straight six that's being specially calibrated for gasoline and diesel variants. A ZF-sourced 8-speed automatic transmission with electronically controlled torque converters will come standard. So far, about 17,000 potential buyers have registered interest in buying the 4x4, and pricing should begin at around the £40,000 mark, or $53,000 American. It's still unknown whether it will be sold in the U.S.
But it sounds like it would cost roughly as much as a new 110 in the same ballpark.
Maybe potentially at the lower end of that scale.
Well, depending on options, yeah.
Which leads me to this past week. There was I think it's a first generation prototype of the Grenadier was in Virginia at our sponsor, Commonwealth Classics, and I went down to see it. They had a small event, almost like a cars and coffee kind of activity, and they had the Grenadier there, and so got to see the Grenadier in person. I put some pictures on the Centresteer Instagram page. Now, if you have to know that they said the exterior was 98% what production would be. The interior was the interior and drivetrain were like 5%, virtually zero of what it would be. We couldn't get in the vehicle. They had very darkened windows, deeply tinted, including the windscreen was deeply tinted. I was told it was limited to 25 miles per hour. It was being flatbedded around the country. I was supposed to go to New Jersey the day after our event. Seems like it was on a tour of North America, or certainly America. But the exterior, I like the proportions, especially from the A-pillar back. I thought it looked really good. It has that chunky Defender-esque feel to it. The rear lights are much bigger, which is a minor thing, but there's one big light on each side in the back.
No duplicate mini-me's.
Right.
No.
My biggest gripe with the back of the new Defender.
Seriously.
Oh, the little squirgles, the small lights. The interesting on the rear doors, which they didn't open, of course, because we couldn't get inside, or they wouldn't allow us to see the inside, was the door is like 80-20. So where you see the ladder that goes up to the roof, that is a small door that opens first, and then the larger door, 70-30, 80-20, something like that. The larger door, which has the spare tire hanging on it, that opens and they open out. So it's a split door, but it's split 70-30, 80-20.
So barn doors.
Yes.
Yeah, sort of like the
barn door. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's been done on a lot of a few four-wheel drive vehicles and seems to do well.
Well, yeah, I like the barn door idea because it gives you full, like unfettered, full width access to your cargo. But you can open one door, not have to open two. And especially if you got one that's heavily laden with spare tire, the less often you have to open that, the better. You don't see the asymmetrical aspect of it very often, but that's kind of neat. I like that.
Yeah, it certainly would. I agree with you. Would give you better access into the interior to get more things in there easier. But I think that smaller door is really not workable. I mean, unless you're just a quick open to reach in, because you'd have to kind of reach around, to almost get your body in there to see something. That would not be as easy access, but I like the concept, and they're probably doing it, I would guess, for the weight, maybe just because there's more, you can hang that weight of the rear spare tire, more mass, I suppose.
Hopefully they're making the door robust enough to support the tire, unlike the original Defender, that the worst thing you could do is hang that tire on the back. It just couldn't take the weight. That's why swing away tire carriers were so popular.
Yeah.
And on the side, which is not evident, and this actually was pointed out to me by the minder they had with the vehicle, he was an adventurer. He was not really a Land Rover guy or anything. I think he seemed to be just kind of an adventurer but he was in charge of taking the vehicle around. There are gear attachment points on the side. So you see that black stripe on the door, and it goes the length of the vehicle. Those are attachment points, like universal attachment points. You can put something in and I guess twist it. They're all
like E-Track.
Is that what that's called? I don't know what it's called, but is that what that is?
Well, inside of cargo trucks, it's called E-Track, yeah.
Okay, that may be the same thing. And they're also at the bottom of the door. You may see there's a small number of the pictures that usually it's a white Grenadier, and there's these black attachment points. So they're at the middle of the vehicle on the side. Then there's a number of them on the bottom of the vehicle. My favorite thing, though, which I'm not sure the complete use of it, but I would call them handrails. Where the Alpine window would be in a Defender, it looks like hand grip, a rail there, and looks like a hand grip almost. And if you got some good, you could almost hold on to it. If you had good running boards to hold on to, but there's like a hand grip there. I'm sure that's good for attachment points for roof rack and such things. That's my impression.
Or if you happen to need a Secret Service detail to go with you on the trail.
It's correct. Yes. Didn't get to see the inside. Have no idea except for what we've heard here.
It kind of sounds like the inside and the underpinnings were still just a test mule on this vehicle.
I get the impression it wasn't even a test mule, but it may have been. But the thing I dislike the most about it is the front end. It looks too plain to me and almost felt Toyota-like. And I wasn't the only one to make that comment. That some other people that were there, we both thought it kind of had the Toyota front feel. Take that for what it is. Maybe
could that be fixed with a big bumper and a brunch guard?
Potentially. I don't know. I think for me, it's the lights set inside what we would call the breakfast on a series. They made a big attempt to emulate the Defender, and Land Rover went and sued them and lost, saying that they didn't want them to copy the design of the Defender. But there certainly does look a lot like the original Defender.
So recovering from that kind of maybe hurt them a little bit.
Yeah, like they've taken the Grenadier standard original Defender, you have outboard the marker lights or side lights or running lights, whatever you call them, wherever you are, and then come in and you have the headlight. On the Grenadier, it's the opposite. You have the headlight and then you come in and then there's your marker lights. So, maybe that's trying to mix things up.
It looks a little more like the G-Wagon as well. That's
a good point. I hadn't thought of that. You're right. It has that kind of G-Wagon, at least in the front. And maybe it's the hood too, because the bonnet, the hood is not flat. It has slanted sides and then it's kind of clamshelly. It's curved a bit, at least in the model that I saw.
So more like a Puma hood then.
A little, yeah. But it's more pronounced than that.
And where the windshield wipers are, there's a deep well there. There's like a tray. So I hope they have good drain holes. That's where the wipers come out of that. But they didn't open the hood. They did open the door. Well, actually, a little funny story, I suppose I can mention. I did kind of get a peek inside, and it was all metal and exposed tubing and exposed wires and hand labeled things. Like I did when they opened the door, and I could see in it did say no ABS. As an example.
Hence the test mule thing.
Right. So it was the end of the event, and they were going to put it onto the flatbed, and it wouldn't start. We suspect that they had probably left on some lights and drained the batteries down.
More British heritage in play there.
Well, that's also when we learned that there was a lot of computers in the back. There's a lot of telemetry going on. So it's potentially they may have left on the telemetry via the computers that were capturing all sorts of data and probably ran down the battery.
The computers that don't go to sleep and it runs the battery down. That's P38 heritage there.
So while they're trying to figure out, and people are inside with their flashlights trying to figure out what's going on to get enough juice to start it up, it started to rain very lightly, but it started to rain, and we were joking, of course, about electronics, Land Rover heritage of electronics, and then the heritage of door seals and rain. And so I knocked on the door, and the guy knew me enough. He opened the door up just to peek, and I go, "Does your foot get wet?
You want to borrow my shopping bag?"
So it was a little fun moment there with that, but.
They needed to make sure they had the hand crank for that.
I did ask, is there a hand crank? Yeah, and then all the Land Rover people chuckled. So that's the Grenadier. There's a potential we might get Commonwealth Classics to come on and talk more about it. Discussion about having that done. So we might get to hear more about the Grenadier, and I figure we'll cover it a bit since it's in the Land Rover related space, right? At least it's also competition, really, and it comes to America. Definitely, it will be competition here in North America for the Defender.
I have talked to a couple of people who've been looking at the new Defender, but they said they were going to wait and see what happened with the Grenadier. So, I mean, it's a thing.
Yeah, for all those people who, love the classic Defender, it's hard to picture yourself in the new Defender, as popular as it is. It's a different crowd for the most part, I think.
Well, and it's the new crowd, the non-Rover people that they're bringing in, which was really kind of the point of it, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So that's the news for May 2021. And now on the Centresteer podcast, contacting us from the deserts of Spain is Rafiki on tour, Sven and Tobias. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Hey, thanks a lot.
You are Rafiki on tour. Found you on Instagram. You have some great photos. You're full-time travelers now, and you're traveling in a 110. So tell us a little bit. Introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about Rafiki on tour.
Okay, so hi, Tobias here. Back in 2015. I bought the Defender, and I think about 1 year later, I wanted to go on a trip, a big one, for about 6 months through Europe. But none of my regular friends wanted to join me. So I put it on the internet. Yeah, I put it on the internet. So
they're sorry now.
Yeah, they're very sorry now.
You need different friends.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Back then, Sven responded, and we did a trip in 2017, touring through 26 European countries in 8.5 months. Then after that, we did so many different trips all through Europe. And then
most of the time, like outdoor, hiking, camping, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all different stuff. And then at the end of 2019, we decided it was time again for a big trip. But that time we would go to South America, early 2020. Yeah.
Oh, good timing.
Bad timing. Yeah, true. So we decided to cancel that for the moment.
It was like a really last minute thing because we almost had the car on a container on a ship.
Oh, that would have sucked.
And then we went back for like 1.5 months to our job, and then we said, yeah, fuck that. We have to there has to be a way to road trip somewhere, and at that time we were still able to go into Europe.
Yeah, so we left in August last year to go to the Noordkaap, the most northern tip of continental Europe. So we did that, and then after a few months it was getting a little bit cold, and then we decided to go to Spain and Portugal in the south, and now it's starting to get more permanent because we've been on the road for 8-9 months now.
So take us back to getting the Defender, because, you know, being a Land Rover podcast, we want to know all about the vehicle. What year is it, and what modifications have you made to it?
It's a 110 from 2000.
Something else we can't get here.
No, that's what I understood as well.
Yes.
So it's a old TD5, except for the engine, which is a 300 TDI, which I think is better.
Was it made that way, or did you take the TD5 out and put a 300?
It was made this way for the export market or something.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So it came from the factory like this.
Okay.
All standard. Had one previous owner, but it needed a lot of DLC. So we added everything from the bull bar to the roof rack, roof tent, storage boxes. And over the years it evolved, of course. We added a solar panel. In the back we have a fridge. We run a dual battery system, lifesaver jerry can for filtering.
All the necessary things for overlanding.
Yeah, exactly. At the moment we can go off the grid for about 1 week, and then we need some food again. But yeah, we have the water filters and stuff. So yeah, as long as there is some food, we'll thrive. Yeah.
I guess Toby, you're the one that got the 110, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Had you been a Land Rover person before that, or is this your first Land Rover?
No, before this, I had an old ambulance from the Dutch Army, a Series 3 109. That was my first vehicle, actually. I was looking online to buy a camp vehicle, and it needed to be something adventurous.
So you'd never owned a car of any type before buying your 109?
No, exactly.
Awesome. Starting out right.
Yeah, it is. So
we support you. We support you.
Ah, nice. Thanks. And then after, 4 years or so, it was time to upgrade to a more modern vehicle, faster.
What happened to the 109 ambulance, and did you make modifications to it? Did you take it out on camping trips or take it off road?
It came. The 4 previous owners did a lot of trips with it, and 3 of them actually took it to Southern Africa and back to South Africa. So it had a lot of history. So I had to do a lot of mechanical work after that, but it was pretty much ready to go camping.
In fact, it's really hard to find an ex-military ambulance that's not already been converted to camper.
No, true. Yeah. But I liked it. I liked the interior, so I kept it like that and did a lot of mechanical work. But then after a few years, it was just time to sell it because it couldn't go past southern France in the span of like 3 weeks.
Right. Yes. It went as fast as it wanted to go.
They don't go fast.
Downhill.
Off a cliff, maybe.
Yeah.
Was it? It was diesel or was it petrol?
Diesel. Yeah, diesel.
Nice. Do you remember what engine it had in it?
2.5. No, 2.25. 2.25.
2.25 diesel. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, super slow, way too heavy for the engine that's in it.
Mine had the 2.25 petrol, which would be speedy by comparison, and it still wasn't fast.
No, yeah, it's just a nightmare. But it's nice to drive slow and take the scenery. So enjoy it. Yeah.
But you can only see forward. You really that the ambulances have almost no rearward visibility.
Yeah, but why do you need to know where you've already been?
True. The only way is forward.
But what happened to the ambulance? Have you lost track of it, or do you know who has it?
No, I still know somebody who has it. It passed 2 different owners, and now the third one after me recently bought it, and it went to Belgium, and he's converting it to, I believe, a 300 TDI because of the speed.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Trust, I converted mine to TDI, and I can actually keep up with other vehicles on the road.
Oh yeah, oh that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, he bought it. Yeah, I'll probably visit him because we're still in contact. So yeah, I'm curious what he's done to it.
So then you purchased the 2000 110, and
Yes.
you said it had a previous owner, and sounds like it had some history to it. Do you know any more about its history?
No, I only knew I believe it was from like a veterinarian who had it. Never washed it in 15 years. Did
Well, why
minor
would you?
off-roading. Well, yeah.
Was it full of pet hair?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
hair everywhere, dirt everywhere, coins, candy papers, everything.
Well, it's in good company. I mean, the most famous Land Rover on the planet, Oxford, was a chicken coop for 30 years. So,
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. Then it had some good company. Yeah. So
Where did you purchase it? Was this in the Netherlands?
in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So it was a Netherlands vet had your previous 110.
Yeah, and he was from the south of the Netherlands, and
How long did it take you to make modifications? Did you start immediately? Did you was there what was on your list of things that you wanted to add or change to it?
I bought it in October 2015, and I wanted to go on a summer holiday back then in June, I think, 2016. So I had about half a year.
so you had to get right to it then.
Yeah, I had to get right to it, and I think I spent every weekend and almost every single evening working on it.
Welcome to the Land Rover Nation.
Yeah. And it still takes a lot of time. But back then it was good for the summer holidays. Then we did some improvements to go on the Europe road trip in 2017. And then for the South America preparations, we spent a lot of hours again changing stuff, fixing it. Yeah.
Yeah, your website, which is rafikiontour.com, we'll have a link in the show notes, of course, has a nice layout of your Defender and what you've done to it, which, nice job. Is that the original paint, by the way, the original color scheme? Because
It is. It's still the original paint. Yeah.
It looks
And
good.
It still looks pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And the rooftop tent. So is that, when did you add the rooftop tent?
Immediately when I bought it, also 2015, 16, yeah. So my previous one had like the rooftop tent that goes straight up, not the foldable one, like a hardcover rooftop tent, but they're pretty expensive. And with this one, the benefit is the covered back area, so you can cook outside.
Yeah, it has like a built-in awning. When you flip it open, it becomes like a roof.
It makes an extra room.
Yeah, we also have that. We've actually never used it because most of the time we spend the entire day exploring. We leave at 10 in the morning and set up camp at 7, and then it's no need to set up a room. So, but yeah, it's a nice addition if you have it. Yeah.
Right. And I see you have that bull bar on the front, which a lot of folks here in America like that design. It's very nice. It has the covers, the little metal wires that go over the headlight version.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that one of the Australia designs?
No, that's a stock one. You can get those here too.
Just you don't see that too much, I guess, on the Defenders, at least here.
Actually, your truck came with one of those.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
It's been so long, but yeah, it had the wraparound, and so it had been hit a few times, so it had wrapped itself into the front fenders.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
You hear that a lot. But
so it had done its job.
The two modifications I thought were interesting that you have is you added the storage locker on the side, and I guess that's very useful, especially for all the fluids and consumables for the vehicle. Seems like a good place and a good access hatch. Was that
It
difficult?
keeps your underwear from smelling like 90 weight on a bumpy road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. First we kept the oil inside, but you need grease, you need the oil, different kinds of oil, and yeah, we bought it secondhand, and it fits perfectly in there. It's original for a Defender.
Is that out of a military truck?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
It looks a lot like the ones they put on the military 110s.
But it works as a charm because normally that space is just wasted. It's just empty space.
Right.
In the wheel arch. And this fits great. Yeah.
That's a trick you learned from the ex-military ambulances because they had a locker back there too.
Oh, yeah.
On each side.
Both sides are actually wasted space. So on the left side, we put in the storage locker. And on the right side, we put in an extra 45 liter tank, I believe.
There you go.
Tank. And it just, gravity fills the normal tank. So that's perfect.
Oh, that's really cool. Do you have that on your website? I don't recall seeing that. Maybe I missed it.
I've mentioned it on the website, but I don't think we've added the pictures yet.
Okay.
That's another project that needs its own page like the others.
Yeah, it is.
I like that you devoted a page to each of the modifications. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, and I think we get regular emails, like a few every week. People asking about more details or complimenting and saying, I've done the same thanks to you. And that's just nice feedback to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, I would encourage you to put one up on that right-hand extra tank that you added, because that's kind of interesting. If not heard about that before, it'd be nice to see that in operation.
Yeah,
whose tank did you use?
I think, good question.
That's why I asked it. I've seen a few different tanks out there, but I can't remember which one is which.
I think Frontrunner has one and Britpart has one.
Okay.
Also, a local company near my house, Tembo, also has one.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one we put in.
Does that have its own filler, or does it fill from the regular?
Yeah, you just take out the regular filling hose and replace it with this tank. And then there are small hoses to attach the new tank to the other one. You need to install like a bleeding tube, but all very simple. The only hard thing to do is fit the tank inside the wheel arch, because you have a lot of stuff going on. You have different hoses, different brackets, which makes it a bit more fiddly.
It seems like wide open space until you try to stick something in there.
Exactly. And then the filler of the extra tank to connect it to the filler of the normal tank, that almost matches out, but then you have to put a tube in between them, which is almost impossible. But yeah, once it's done, it's done.
So then they both fill at the same time.
Yeah, so you only fill the top one, and it gravity fills the other one, and because there is a bleeding hose and everything, it levels out perfectly.
Neat.
And then it adds, I think, about 45 liters extra to your capacity.
Cool.
Very nice.
That is great. That's good for extended range.
Yeah, we talked to a few guys for South America, and they told us, you have to have at least 1,000 kilometer range. That's pretty much covered with this.
So no need to carry extra jerry cans full of fuel.
Yeah, we do. We do carry one on top, but we never fill it because of the weight. But apparently in Bolivia, tourists can't fill up their car at petrol stations. They can only fill jerry cans and then use the jerry cans to fill the car. So we had to carry one just for that.
Way to be friendly to the tourists.
Yeah, apparently that's a bit of an issue there.
Well, I think it's a good idea to carry one anyway, because you just never know. And if something goes wrong, at least you have the can with which to go fetch some fuel.
Yeah, also true. Yeah, never hurts to have one.
As I like to say, it's better to have it and not need it than the other way around.
Yeah, true.
The other modification you have, which I think would be probably useful for everybody, you have this the Thule Van Lock. I've not seen those before. How useful are those?
In a country where it's the number one stolen vehicle, it's very useful.
Yeah. I think we've seen mixed reviews about it, but I think it works well, and it also looks the part. So it looks cool, and I think if a thief comes by, he'll think twice about stealing our car, or at least try to get in, because it's just a massive lock and it fits nicely on the Defender as well.
Have it on all 4 doors, or is it only on the...
We have, like, on the back door, we have a simple lock. I think it's from some gardening shop or something. And then the second row doors both have the Thule Van Lock. And then in the front doors, it didn't fit. So there we used deadbolt locks. For that, you had to take the door card off, measure it twice, and then only cut it once. Also with the window rolling down. But yeah, there is a small hole for the key on the outside, and then 2 massive pins go into the door frame.
Okay, so you replaced the normal door lock then?
No, they're there as well. So we have
they're supplemental.
So it's a double lock, yeah.
And we have a friend who is who listens to the show and is a friend of ours here locally. He's big on espresso, so I would be remiss if I didn't call out your Nano Presso review there. Just curious what your thoughts are on that, because I think Mark would want to know.
I thought of Mark immediately when I saw that myself. He carries a little pocket barista with him.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Everywhere.
We started out with the, how do you call it? The percolator, like the Bialetti mocha pot.
Mm-hmm.
It's different to set an espresso with it, because you first need to heat up the entire thing into water and then add the coffee. And then last year we invested in the Nano Presso, and we use it every morning, sometimes in the afternoon as well. But you only get a small espresso shot. So recently we upgraded it with the barista kit, which is from the same brand. And now we can set a double espresso, and we add a lot more varieties to it. So it's great. We've used it every day.
When you originally went out in 2017, and was the plan to go out for 8.5 months and just tour Europe? Did you, what were some of the highlights there? Favorite countries or campsites?
Well, let's Sven do
the plan was doing 6 months, road trip of 6 months. But we drove a little bit slower than expected. And when we were in Turkey, we were already 6 months on the way.
Oh, wow.
And the plan was to do Scandinavia as well. But yeah, we were in the early phase of winter. So we decided not to go to Scandinavia. It was too cold. We just had summer clothes with us, summer sleeping bags and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, not a good time to be in Scandinavia without winter gear.
No, so we just drove really slow back to the Baltic countries. We had some really freezing temperatures over there, like minus 15. And then we were like, Celsius. And we were
it's
like,
cold either way, trust me.
Yeah, it's cold either way. So we're like, okay, should be the end of our trip, 8.5 months. And we will do Scandinavia on a later time. So we did that this trip. We started in Scandinavia, and then we went down to Spain, Portugal. But the highlights of the 2017 trip were, for me, and I think I speak for both, definitely the Balkan countries. You said the Balkan?
Yeah, the Balkan. Like you have
Bosnia, Montenegro, Albania, Croatia. Yeah, those countries, they're like pure raw diamonds, especially if you like overlanding, gravel. We were even on places where kids never saw any tourists, and it's like, really special.
Unspoiled,
definitely.
Now, was this your first trip anywhere, Sven, or had you been overlanding before?
No, not overlanding before. This was my first experience with Tobias.
So it was Toby's first and your first as well. So just to sum up, this was Toby's first trip and Sven's as well.
Yes, and after that, I think we were both mind blown by this first experience, and that's why we talked to each other again. We did like many hike canoe trips after that, and then we decided to go for another trip in 2020, 2021 right now.
It sounds like you both decided to become professionals.
It truly got us hooked, because it gives you so much freedom. if you go backpacking or stuff, that's really cool. But you always need to take public transport and stuff. And with this, you can venture out deep into the wilderness. We often do so, but we also love hiking, and it's the perfect mix. We just drive cool places, go off-roading, and then one day we'll do a big hike or maybe go hiking for 5 days, taking our backpacks and our tents with us. Yeah, we can get to these places with this car, and that's really cool.
Yeah, it's especially we like to say it's go off the beaten track. It's like a really normal thing, I think, for Defender, for Land Rover people. But we see like a lot of other people on the road and just following the road. And I think, doing it this way is like a real big experience, adventure.
You sound like natural Land Rover owners. It's exact. As we like to say, that comes from Top Gear. You're doing important things. Oh no! See, I screwed it up. Important. Harold, help me out. I forgot.
Again,
I mean, they are doing important things, really, but
important things for important people. You know, it's the
somewhere for some. Yeah.
Yes, Land Rovers help you out with that.
Yeah. So we've heard Toby's story of how he got the 110. Sven, were you a Rover guy before this, or are you recently converted?
No, I'm definitely not. I'm more like an old-timer guy, small cars. But no, yeah.
Did you know what a Land Rover was before this?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, but after doing the trip with Tobias and the car, I'm again really mind blown about the possibilities of the car, and I always feel like safe when there is like a big climb or a steep cliff or whatever kind of road. There are a lot of possibilities inside the car, diff lock or going low gear, and no other car has. So there is always a way up and always a way down. And I think that's what I love about going Land Rover, going Defender.
So once you're done traveling, are you going to get one for yourself?
No.
You should.
That's usually what happens. They get converted, and then
Welcome to your addiction.
I have other addictions.
Aha! I see. See, we usually say that Land Rovers keep you away from doing hard drugs. That's that's where all the instead of put your money towards the hard drugs, all the money goes towards Land Rovers.
Sven is addicted to music, so he's taking care of the playlist.
Excellent.
Right. Yeah.
Social media.
Oh, that's great. Oh, yeah, that's true. Because so Sven, you handle the social media accounts.
Yeah, I really like. Of course, we do it both, but I really like to do the social media. So.
Do a really good job, I have to say. I like the website. I think I like how you especially did on your Instagram account, how you have sets of pictures by country or by topic. I thought that was very well done. Pass that along.
Right, Mary.
Do you both drive, or does Toby? Are you the only one driving? Since I guess it is your.
I'm not allowed to.
This was a bit of a topic, but. No. I don't allow anybody to drive, but if you go on a trip like this, then you need to, and it's fun for both. So yeah, we both drive.
And I'm a good driver, right?
Yeah. No accidents so far.
That's good. Well, that's. I think we touched on a topic there that was interesting. Didn't think we.
Actually, no.
So in other words, when Toby is telling Sven he should get his own, he means get your own.
It's
really
no.
It's always good to travel in pairs. So if you each had one, you could both travel together, and that way you'd have your own.
That would also be cool. Actually, at the moment we're traveling with 2 other Defenders, both full timers as well, and we just met them here in this desert. So now we drove up for a few hours to get some cell reception. But it's nice to drive in like a convoy. That's really cool.
Looks like we got us a convoy.
Like other Defenders, it's like wow.
Yeah, it's certainly in Europe. It's almost it seems everywhere, but here in North America, there's people overlanding all the time that are always doing it. Is there a large? So I guess there's a noticeable community of people that overland that are constantly driving around.
Yeah, but it's small. The Land Rover community in Europe is pretty large. But real overlanding, no, that's really, especially now at this moment in time. But I think we know everybody or almost everybody that's on the road in these countries at the moment. It's a small market, but it's growing fast. Especially over the last 2 years, we've talked to a lot of people, and people really start buying rooftop tents, fridges, adding it to their cars. And especially last year, people started buying this stuff by the dozens, and everybody's going out with the car now, which is really nice to see.
Well, with the pandemic, a lot of people have lost their homes, so they have to live out of their car. So why not get it outfitted?
Yeah, yeah.
And here in the U.S., a lot of people bought trailers or RVs and started because if they could work from anywhere, and they had to, weren't locked to an office, they were buying this. So there was been a huge explosion in sales in trailers.
It's a safe way to travel because you're moving around the country, but you're still quarantined.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what we think as well. And also the people we talk to, everybody has their own home on wheels, loves to be outside, and that's just great. And a lot of people start working remote now, so yeah.
Well, let's get back to your trip, and you were in the Balkans, because this is where I have to take you to task a bit. As we just celebrated the 100th anniversary of my grandfather emigrating to the U.S. from Macedonia, and I noticed you did not visit Macedonia in your trips.
Uh-oh.
So I have a bone to pick with you, gentlemen, that you did not get into Macedonia.
You boys better turn around now.
Yeah. The internet connection is getting bad.
What did you say?
No, yeah, it was on our list, but at the time, we only had 6 months, or at least that was the original plan. And then we decided to stick a bit more to the coast, and we had to make some way. So yeah, we unfortunately had to skip it due to that. But after,
we will.
We will, because it's still on our list, because we have like the flag stickers of the flags of every country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we put it on the back of the car. Macedonia is still missing. So,
well, when you go back, you got to stop in Bulgaria as well, because that's another land of John's heritage. But Bulgaria has a good Land Rover community there and an active club, so you should check them out too.
Yeah, we stopped there.
Actually, they helped us, right?
Yeah,
we
helped
had some mechanical issues after Turkey, and I think in that time we contacted like the Land Rover club over there, and they sent us some info about garage and shops, workshops where we
they helped us to get back on the road. Yeah,
as they should.
And that's like a really funny thing, because it's not really funny, but really useful thing. When you have problems, you always have those people with the same interest, with the same love, with the same car. And in every country, you can just contact those Facebook groups and they will help you, whatever you need. It's really...
I like to say that about the Land Rover community is that you're never more than, a couple 100 miles from a friend.
Definitely.
Last summer when we were in Norway, the oil seals behind the driving belt, behind the timing belt, started leaking. And we didn't really have any experience or the proper tools to do that. So we contacted the local club and they arranged an address for us to ship the parts. Then they also said, you can also use the local workshop of the local Land Rover club in Trondheim in Norway. And so we spent, I think, 3 days there in the workshop. On the bridge with the rooftop tent open, the heating on. And then we just had some pizza, drank some beers, worked on the car, and had a great time. People helping us out, arranging tools. Yeah, it was great.
I've heard wonderful things about Norway. That's great to hear that you had they helped you out. And since we mentioned Norway, I've always found fascinating the roads in Norway. Did you get to travel on those awesome looking roads,
like the Trollstigen?
Yeah, we did. It was great. You have so many mountain passes going through amazing landscapes. amazing views, great wildlife as well with moose and reindeer. It's just great. Yeah.
And you can park wherever you want. So
yeah, wild
that's the
camping.
most special thing, I think, of the country.
Yeah, I think for us in Europe, wild camping is a bit of a problem because in most countries it's not allowed. But in the Scandinavian countries, but also here in Spain, you can do that. But that's a big bonus for these countries.
Did you get the drone out when you were in Norway? And
Everywhere.
Almost like every corner of Norway, we recorded with the drone.
I'll have to go back and double check the photos. I think I may have missed some of the drone footage of Norway. You have a lot of pictures, a lot to go through. I highly recommend people check out your Instagram account. It's fantastic. Just a thought back to Macedonia. When you go to Macedonia, and I do highly encourage you to do that, you need to go around Lake Ohrid, Ohrid, and that is it's a lake. It's split between Albania and what is now called North Macedonia, and that is the area of which my grandfather came from. And it's also probably the most modern part of Macedonia. I was there in 2005, and I actually saw 2 Defenders there from the UN. So
oh, cool. Yeah, we heard good stories about it because we were visiting Lake Ohrid on the Albanian part, and people told us we should go to Macedonia to visit that part because it's more beautiful.
Yes. Indeed. Yes. And that's my heritage.
So,
you just scored some points with the host.
Always important to score points with a host. That's right. Do you have a favorite country that you've visited that you want to get back to?
Yeah, like Sven said, Albania so far. I think Albania really stole our hearts. Montenegro as well, because there is so much to see nature-wise, but also overlanding and camping is just really cool there. And the people are amazing because they will help you out. It's whatever you need, and they don't want anything in return. They're so hospitable. Their generosity is amazing. But also now, overlanding in Spain, it's so diverse and big.
And the weather is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And by good, you mean not cold?
No,
like 30 degrees Celsius. So really like summer temperatures of the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And it's a dry heat, so it's not muggy or anything.
No, not at all.
Did you get to the Dalmatian coast? I've heard good things about the Dalmatian coast around Croatia.
Yeah, we did. We visited a few cities over there, did a bit of wild camping. But that's just rugged. It's really cool to see. Yeah, you have the amazing islands, which we didn't visit, but looking at them, yeah, it was great. Yeah. And the sea is perfect temperature. Yeah. It's a different vibe over there.
So what is next once you're able to move on from Spain?
Yeah, we still have a lot of stuff we want to see here. Then we'll probably head to France. We still have
unfinished business there.
Yeah.
We left France quite in a hurry.
Running from the law?
Yeah.
Running from the COVID
from another lockdown.
Oh, I see what you mean. Gotcha.
Yeah,
But
running from the COVID police.
Okay, shit, go into Spain quickly. So we were there like just for a couple of days.
So we'll go to, I think it still takes some time to leave Spain because there's so much to see. Then the next stop is France. Then for summer, we'll probably head back to the Netherlands for a bit to sort things out, visit friends and family again once things open up now.
To work again.
And to work again for a bit more because, sometimes finances are running low for a bit. And then we'll start planning new adventures because South America is still on the list, but also South America, maybe with Central and North America.
You have a great community here in North America that will help you out, and you're certainly welcome if you get to North America.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
Yes.
But and then Africa and the Silk Route to India are also on the list. Yeah, we don't know yet. Depends on things opening up soon.
Is that the general plan for the future, is to take some overlanding trips and then work for, 6-8 months and then take another 6-8 month overlanding trip?
Yeah, that's at the moment, that seems to be like how it's going to be because working like 6 months, if we're lucky, you can save up for about a year of travel because we live really off the grid, no expanded area. We don't
Almost no campsites.
Yeah. So it's really cheap to travel like this. So with 6 months of work, we can almost stay away for like 12 months, maybe, if we're lucky, if we stretch it out. So yeah, that's a general plan. But maybe if things evolve, maybe we can do some online work as well and then stay away. But yeah, we have to figure that out.
Some of our overlanding friends publish books as a way to supplement their overlanding income.
With people that have been talking to us, they say that we should actually write a book or do something with that because many people think our story is interesting.
You've got a good story to tell. Plus, you've got a good collection of pictures that would make a nice picture book.
True. Yeah. So maybe we'll think about that as well. Would be nice to supplement future budgets and keep going. So that we don't have to return to the Netherlands.
So looking at the website, two things popped out at me that I think wanted to touch on, and I realize it's not in some chronological order here, but you mentioned you got to the Vatican City, which I think my understanding is that the vehicles aren't allowed in the Vatican City. So did you actually get the Defender in Vatican City, or is it just that you got towards it?
Yeah, you have like the closed part indeed, and then there are roads, around it, just barely crossing it, but really in the closed part of it, which is the famous part of Vatican City because it's not really that big, but.
Well, I guess if you dip one tire over the border, it's technically in the country, right?
It is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Which is more than most people will do. So kudos to you.
It's closer than my Defender's ever going to get to.
According to that, we can also put the Russian flag on the car. Yeah, because I think it is Estonia, there is like a small border area.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The warm weather port, there's a bit there that's between Estonia and I think Poland that's still considered Russian territory. Yes.
Yeah, also. But there is also like a part where a village is closed off from the rest of Europe by Russia. But there is one small stretch of dirt road, I think like 1,000 meters or something. And you're not allowed to stop. There are cameras everywhere, but you can cross it. So we drove on Russian territory. So maybe we put that sticker on it as well.
There you go. Why not? I mean,
nice.
How many people can say they've done that?
No, yeah. But yeah, it's not really experiencing Russia. So I'm not sure if it really counts, but hey.
I guess if you really had to make the flag count, you could, but you could also go there someday and do it for real.
That would be better. Yeah, that would be more authentic, I think.
I imagine there's lots of interesting things to see there.
Yeah.
Really?
You have everything. According to what we hear, there's a lot of stuff to see. Mountains, valleys, you have deserts, you have snow.
Siberia.
Yeah, Siberia. Yep.
I think the difference between Russia and the Vatican City is that Vatican City is very small. So even touching it counts, but Russia's vast. That I think you do need to experience a bit of it first before you can put the flag on.
One tire on Vatican territory covers more of the land mass of that country than you're going to be able to do in Russia with the whole truck.
Yeah, very true.
One of the modifications I was curious about was, well, it's not really a modification, but you've added a solar panel. Is that enough to charge and keep the systems that you want to? I assume you have computers and you have the fridge. You have other batteries that you need to charge up for your cameras. Does that complement your system enough?
Yeah. First, we started out with just a second battery, which charged through the engine. And also when we go to a campsite, we could plug it in and then it was charging. But we noticed that when we go wild camping and we stay in a place for 3 or 4 days and it's sunny, then the fridge draws the battery. So last year the solar panel, and ever since everything is fine. So the sun is shining, fridge, laptop, camera gear, and so on, just run the solar panel. And it charges the second battery as well. So when it's away, like for 1 or 2 days, we were fine.
And how big is the solar panel? Is it a 100 watts?
110.
So it matches 110 to 110.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As it should.
Yeah, and it's a great addition. I think we couldn't do without it, especially now we're almost always wild. And before we would travel every day, still do so, but trip a lot of places, it's just not hang around like a week or so. With the unpredictability with lockdowns, it's just easy to hang back for a bit in the countryside. The solar just takes care of everything. It makes sure we can stay off the grid quite a long time.
Is there any gear that maybe is too much? That's something you wish you hadn't brought along with you? You know, we hear a lot about this is important, this is necessary. You should have several of these, but anything that you've come across that you shouldn't have taken?
In the past trips, we've gotten rid of a lot of stuff, not that much, but just small stuff we don't use. This trip, we've taken an inflatable kayak with us to explore Norway on the water, but I think we've only used it three or four times, and it takes so much space inside, and we can't access all cabinets anymore, so it is compromising the interior usability and the practicality of it. But so maybe we would leave that back home in a future trip. But it's nice if there is water, we still use it, but it just takes a lot of time to dry out again. But overlanding wise, and actually everything we have serves its purpose, I think. Yeah.
And in Europe, I take it you're not too far from, you know, a grocery store or somewhere that you can pick up food and water. That doesn't seem like it's too far off the normal trail or the path.
No, we are.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
No,
Okay.
Most times it's just like an hour's drive to, or maybe now, like an hour's drive to a village at max. And sometimes we need to travel for like 1 or 2 days, but that's really just stretching it, because if you need some groceries, there is something really close by always.
There's always like a small shop somewhere in a village.
Yeah. But now we're in this desert thing, and we've been traveling here for 3 days without seeing any other people, any villages. It's just vast and it's great. Yeah.
Have you seen many Defenders?
Yeah, we met a few people online on Instagram, and we decided to meet here in the desert. So we've been doing this with 3 different people, 2 other Defenders. And yeah, that's nice. It's good to be, because here we have like steep inclines. We did some river wading as well today. And then it's nice to have a few different people with us, also with winches, which we don't have. So if we get stuck, there are now a few other cars around.
And are these local folks, or are they people who have driven for a while to get to where you are?
No, yeah.
They're full-time overlanders as well. They're from Belgium.
Okay.
Yeah, but one is doing a bit like we talked before, like working for a bit and then off-roading, overlanding for a bit. And the other ones wanted to go to Asia, but then the lockdown came, so they decided to go to Spain as well. But they just recently started. They converted their Defender last year, or actually for the last 3 or 4 years, I think. But they started traveling in November for the first time.
So, gents, what is your future plans? I realize South America may be next on the horizon, but are you waiting for all the lockdowns around the world to kind of be released? Are you waiting to get vaccinated? And then is South America the next place you want to go? And when might that happen? Yeah,
South America is definitely still on the list. I think we'll probably just hang around in Europe for a bit longer. Visit a few cool places, then drive back for summer to do a bit of work, and also get the vaccination to be able to travel the world again in freedom.
And to fatten up the wallet a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. That's necessary after almost 9 months on the road.
It takes money to do this stuff, and you got to make it however you make it.
Yeah, so that's the general plan. And in the meantime, we'll visit a lot of cool places. I think that's also what the people want to see, but also what we want to experience. It's not just touristic stuff. We also visit like cities and stuff, but visiting the small places in between the touristic highlights, makes a trip worth it. If you don't do that, you don't experience a country to the fullest. So that's also what we want to tell people. Just head out more and head off the beaten track. Just go to the countryside, visit the small things to really take in the experience and know what a country is like. And yeah, if possible, and you have the vehicle, drive dirt roads because that's just cool.
Yeah, it's the most fun.
Well, Defenders aren't really at home on the Autobahn.
No, they're not.
They're making too much noise then. So go gravel.
So you speak at least 2 languages. Sven, are you also from the Netherlands?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you got Dutch, you got English. I assume you got French, maybe some Spanish.
A bit of German as well.
Good.
I know the names of car parts in those languages, and that's about it.
Oh, but that's
most
really
of the time English, right?
Well, it's the important thing.
Sven and Toby. Toby was you're the originator of this, and then Sven, you joined in because you answered a random internet ad to join Tobias on this trip.
And you've been paying for it ever since.
Is it safe to say, so you weren't friends before? Now, I guess you've become friends now. You're now traveling companions.
Let's hope they're friends by now.
You stupid asshole.
I just wanted to get that on the record and get that clear.
That's definitely safe. I think we found each other in doing adventurous stuff.
So you're gonna stay, even though it's Toby's thing. You're on it for the foreseeable future, and you're gonna stay with it.
Yeah,
good.
It's the next couple of months, I'm still in it.
There you go.
Until he pisses you off, right?
Yeah, especially that maybe he meets a nice girlfriend and then I'm gone. You know.
Oh yes,
that's right.
Yeah. Priorities.
Yeah, priorities.
No, but it's nice because we mentioned it before, I believe. But yeah, you have friends for different kinds of stuff. And Sven is really my adventure buddy. If we want to head out, it's always Sven because we match on this from so well. Just going back to the basics, doing the rough stuff. And that's really cool.
Is Rafiki the name of your Defender?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe that's a nice touch as well because the previous Land Rover had, the ambulance, which we talked about, was called Baraka, which means blessed in Swahili. And I wanted to have the new Defender also, like, it needed to be something in Swahili as well. And Baraka and Rafiki matched. And Rafiki means friend. And then, so we called the Defender Rafiki. And then Sven joined me with the trip. And then I was like, okay, but then it's Rafiki the Defender and friends. So it's friends on tour, Rafiki on tour. So it just, the name matches.
It does.
The thing that we do. Yeah.
And you've become friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you know, Sven, you realize that Rafiki is in fact Toby's girlfriend in a way. You understand that. That's
yeah.
You are already the third person in this.
Yeah, all the girl things here.
and if Toby was actually married to a human female, then Rafiki would be his mistress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guys, you're going too deep into this.
That sounds like a good time to wrap things up, right? Yeah. I really like your Instagram account. That's Rafiki on Tour, just as the website is rafikiOnTour.com. Of course, we'll have links in the show notes. What's the best place to follow you? And if folks want to check out your travels,
I think Instagram is the best. We try to update our stories, our Insta stories daily, on daily basis, and we post all the highlights of our trip in the feed. So I think following us on at Rafiki on Tour on Instagram is the best way to get inspired and to how do you say that?
To stay up to date.
To stay up to date, yeah.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's a great. That's how I found you, was through the Instagram, and contacted you, and
there you go.
So it did its job. It worked very well. Great pictures. I like your Insta stories. They're fun to watch too. Going through the water, getting stuck in the mud. That was
that's one of our highlights as well.
Was it a half hour to go 100 feet or 100 meters, something like that?
Yeah, it was like 2 hours for 40 meters. So we really went too deep.
Sounds about right.
So this is and this is why, Sven, you need your own Defender, so that because you should always travel in pairs.
So I could pull him out. Yeah, that's true.
Or both get stuck at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a
more fun.
They say that four-wheel drive just allows you to get stuck in places that are more inaccessible.
Seems about to cover it.
Hey, thanks very much for taking the time out of your day. You're in the deserts of Spain talking to us. It was fantastic. I appreciate you joining us. Thanks very much, gentlemen.
Yeah, it was really nice to talk to you. It's fun to hang out for a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the invitation.
We hope you enjoyed show number 98. Thanks to Harold and to Morgan for coming on today again. As always, gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
And we have no word from Dixon. We're not sure what's happening. We want to know more, Dixon, about Rover Night.
Yeah, once you've arranged bail, you need to let us know what happens.
And thanks to Tobias and Sven of Rafiki on Tour. I recommend you follow them on Instagram. It's Rafiki on Tour is their account there. And the one true Pax for his continued production support. As always, thanks, Pax, for helping us sound better.
Yeah, that's a big task. So thank you.
We're part of the 4x4 Radio Network, and I invite you to check out the other 4x4 related shows at 4x4radionetwork.com. Visit our website, centresteer.com, to listen to previous shows and for show notes, which have links to stories discussed in today's podcast. If you're listening to the podcast on our website, download a podcast app and subscribe so you can have the podcast automatically delivered to you. We post a new podcast at the end of every month. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and email and voicemail. You can directly support the show at patreon.com/centersteer. Buy a t-shirt, a sticker, or even buy us a tea. I should maybe change that to brown water now. Click on store on the menu of our webpage for all the details. Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear from you and what you're up to in your Land Rover. Click on voicemail on the website and let us know. The next voicemail will receive a Centresteer t-shirt. Until next time, I ask you to share the show with one other Land Rover enthusiast.
And you may now resume your important things.
Including the XE, XF, XJ, F-Type, F-Pace, E-Pace, and I-Pace.
Thank you.